also work for you, because they are all simple commonsensical things. They are no brainers. They are not a major thing that anybody can. It's anything what anybody can do, so on and so forth. Let me just share my slide. Just give me a minute. Is my slide visible? Is my slide visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, thank you. As I mentioned, basically more of an experience sharing initiative on how I have been able to mentor a lot of teams towards hackathons, and also being able to coordinate the competitive programming initiative called the ICPC for the over a decade or so. So let me just go into the slide. See, as I mentioned, as my profile was being read, it's been a wonderful journey, so as to speak, over the last, say, 3 to 4 years, 4 years rather. So in the first 15 years of my career in Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, which is India's #1 private university, has been generally more of a journey in administration. Of course, I've been able to do extremely well there also. Focusing on the internal quality assurance cell activities for more than a decade, running the computer science department, heading the department for over a decade. But that was the first part of the career. The first 15 years was primarily into administration activities. But in late 2017, a student team came to me and said that, sir, we have seen you judge a lot of pitching and stuff. We have seen you being a judge in various competitions, not only in our university but outside also, including a television program they saw somewhere, and they said, can you mentor us? So then I said, I would love to mentor you, but the problem is, I'm extremely busy. I have so many administrative and academic commitments. I will try my best and I will do so. But that was a start of a beautiful journey, because I made it a commitment to spend a very good amount of time with my teams. I had 5 to 7 hackathon teams, all of whom have got spectacular success. And I make it a point that I spend at least 1 hour or maybe more every week, sometimes 2 hours, and it may be on a Sunday, it may be late night, but I make it a point to meet my hackathon teams at least once in a week for an hour or so, and then mentor and guide their progress. So as mentioned in my profile, it's been a wonderful journey. Last 4-5 years, I've been blessed with to mentor the smartest students in India. We have won more than 50 plus hackathons, and not only hackathon, we have got top ranks. We might have won around 15 hackathons. The remaining 35, we have got extremely good ranks, the top 2, top 3, top 5, top 10, and so on. And they have been extremely very, very reputed events. Smart India Hackathon twice, which, as you know, is as a dream project. Smart India Hackathon is such an exciting idea, where the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister of India was use the student innovation for the problems faced by the government. Various ministries of the government of India have problems and technical challenges. And Smart India Hackathon is focused on solving those problems by using the creativity, using the innovation, using the teamwork of the student community like you. So we have been able to win it twice. Rajasthan Hackathon, TCS Nginx Digital Twin Challenge. That is a IoT challenge, which is perhaps the largest prize money. We won 5 lakhs in this competition a couple of years back. We won several. We went international many hackathon. We won the IEEE Asia Pacific Humanitarian Technology Challenge in Indonesia. We won another event in Australia, but we couldn't go because of the pandemic. The technology Grand Infusion Challenge, we couldn't go because of the pandemic. It was a virtual event, and this year also. I mean, this year means 2021. We won a hackathon in Rutgers University, US. In 2020, we won the India International Science Festival, which is an event inaugurated by the Prime Minister of India. So, but if you ask me, which is the crowning glory as far as I am concerned, and my first team was, being able to represent India in the Singapore India Hackathon. So the top 20 teams from India were selected based on their performance in Smart India Hackathon and several other hackathons to represent the country in the first Singapore India Hackathon. And I'm very happy to tell you that we came in the top 5 of the hackathon out of 40 teams, 20 best teams from India, 20 best teams from Singapore, and we came in the top 5. And this is the picture that we have. I was very blessed to be felicitated and got a handshake with the Honorable Prime Minister. So he was in Singapore. It was his idea actually, Singapore India Hackathon. So during the ASEAN India Summit in November 2018, he also found time to meet all of us and encourage us. So this journey has been very good last 5 years. Now, of course, in fact, I have changed my profile in a way. I have reduced my teaching load. I have reduced my administrative commitments also, and I focus more on mentoring. But I do continue to. I stepped down as the head of the department a couple of years back, but I continue to coordinate and chair the internal quality assurance cell of the university campus in Coimbatore. So that administrative commitment is there, but teaching load I have reduced. Other administrative load I have reduced, and I focus a lot of time on mentoring more and more teams. Of course, pandemic has hit, but we have been able to still uh, as far as possible. Okay, so now generally speaking, just 1 minute. So generally speaking, before I go into how to win a hackathon, I want to actually stress upon what is a hackathon. And generally, a lot of people confuse hackathon with hacking. Okay, uh, so hackathon is nothing to do with hacking. So as you know, hacking is basically a unethical activity where you are trying to do some hanky panky. You are trying to steal somebody's information. You are exposing the system vulnerabilities that are available, and some sort of activity. But that's a totally different thing. A hackathon is nothing like hacking. A hackathon means, the simple definition is, you are building something innovative. You are building a digital product in a very innovative fashion, but in a very limited amount of time. That's the catch. So hacking is, stealing and looking for vulnerabilities, looking for weaknesses and so on. But hackathon is building a digital product, an innovative digital product in a very simple way, in a very innovative way. But the catch is that we have to do this in a very limited amount of time, in 24 hours or 36 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours. So it's a very short life cycle with respect to the building the digital product. So you are building something, in a very short amount of time. And another thing is that the entire life cycle of the product you are going through, starting from ideation, conceptualization. Ideation means getting the idea, conceptualizing the product, prototyping the product, executing or building the product, testing the product, and pitching the product to the stakeholders. So this entire product life cycle, it is happening in a very it is happening in a very limited amount of time. That's the amazing part of the digital, the hackathon. You are doing it in a very short amount of time. Now, in a hackathon, generally one thing that happens is that they give you the problem statement ahead of schedule, but the problem statement is generally very vague. It is a very vague kind of thing. So, to give you an example, smart city hackathon. So you know that it is a problem statement is smart city. So that means you are developing something in your language, in the smart city space, but it doesn't say anything about what it is, how it is, and so on and so forth. It's a very vague thing. But beyond that, you have to develop that idea. So the idea is smart city hackathon, but then you have to now ideate, conceptualize, prototype, develop, execute, test, and pitch your product with the stakeholders. Now, hackathon is very much fun. You are able to unleash your creativity, your teamwork, your innovation, all these things you get to do. It's fun. Your hands are dirty. You're completely diving into the entire issue, and you are applying all your skills and knowledge and learning. Now, if you are taking a computer science program, I'm just giving you an example. You are doing a BTech in computer science. You are learning multiple languages. You are learning C, C++, Java, Python, Oracle. You are learning concept, operating systems, computer networks, system software, software engineering, software project management, testing, theory of computation. So many subjects you are learning. You are learning advanced electives, machine learning, data science, IoT, artificial intelligence. Now, here in a hackathon, you are actually applying all these things, applying all the concepts that you have learned in all these courses, applying your skills in the sense that you have done so many courses in so many languages, platforms. You are applying. You have learned Python. You are applying those skills that you know in the platform. You are applying your knowledge. All these things you do in a hackathon. A hackathon is a wonderful experience to apply all your skills and learnings. And generally, all hackathons, be without fail, the goal of the hackathon is usually either a business issue, a business solution, or it is a societal solution. I'll tell you the difference between a business solution and a societal solution. A societal solution is something that you do to solve a problem in the society. Smart city. You know, in any city in India, whether you're in Vizag or you're in Coimbatore or you're in Delhi or Bombay, you know the traffic snarls, the accidents that happen. You know the lack of infrastructure, the lack of sanitation. So you need solutions. You go to, in Chennai and all, you're in Chennai, when you live in Chennai, never take a cab to the airport because you get stuck. The airport is in Meenambakkam, which is a very arterial road, major arterial road. Thousands and thousands of cars come every day, people coming for work. You plan go 1 hour before, you will not reach. You better to take a train. These kind of issues are there. So when you talk of a smart city, there are multiple issues. Smart traffic, smart infrastructure, smart water, usage of the water, smart electricity, grid, where the current, power cuts. Why are power cuts coming? If you have an efficient system to redistribute the power in the grid, why should you have a power cut? So when you say smart city, which is a societal thing, there are multiple areas. Smart education, smart healthcare, smart logistics, smart buildings, smart traffic, smart car. Everything is smart. This is a societal problem. The second type of problem statement is a business problem. Many companies organize hackathons for the business problem, solving the business problem. When I say a business problem, a company is developing some product. They want some modules to be done separately, right? Uh, um, uh, they want these modules to be done separately. So they give a hackathon, right? They give a hackathon, right? 1 minute. They give a hackathon so that they are able to solve their business problem. They need a module that can be developed that will accelerate their product, they'll accelerate their system. And that is the second type of problem statement, a business problem statement. Other is the societal statement. Now what I'm going to tell you now in the next say 10 20 minutes is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer in the sense it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It is simple, commonsensical things. Very simple, commonsensical, but which we have done through experience. It has been tested through experience in a very good way, right? We have tested this. We have done this for quite some time. It has worked also, and these simple tips, I'm sure, will help you in being able to win as many hackathons as possible. First step, form a good team. That's the first step. Make a very good team. It's a team. What is the definition of a team? General definition of a team is a group of people who solve a purpose or an objective. They solve this objective or purpose, and the team, generally the members of the team, have got complementary skills. They complement each other, they supplement each other. One fellow, suppose you have a smart city hackathon, one fellow is good in IoT interfacing, another person is good in machine learning, another person is good in hardware, another person is good in Python. It is a winning combination. Python software, machine learning algorithm, logic towards the engine that drives AI. Another person good in IoT, another person good in interfacing and hardware. You have a winning combination, right? For the smart city hackathon. So always a team should be selected on that way. A team should be selected in such a way that the definition of the team is complementary skills and multiple
Hello?
some talk is coming. Multiple skills and multifaceted skills and complementary skills are there, and it can only work when you are working in a team. And this is another definition of team. TEAM is together everybody achieves more. That's more important. Together everybody achieves more. TEAM. And always in the team, this individual thing is not there. It is always a team decision. It is a team victory. Now, as far as a mentor, what I do is in all my teams, there is absolutely no what should I say, there is no emotional this thing. See, I have so many students with me. I form teams not based on friendships and emotions. I form teams based on the requirement. So if there is one team that has won 3 or 4 hackathons with me, I tell them very clearly, see, this is okay. That hackathon required your skill set. Now there is another hackathon that requires a different skill set. And one of the team members, you may be friends, but you should understand that your skill is not going to help us. So these teams have not to be formed not by friendship but by emotion, but for the purpose. And the performance of the team is more important, not the individual performance. You may be individually great, but that's not going to help if the other team members are not cooperating with you, right? So that is the first step. Form a good team based on skill set. Definition of team itself is complementary skill set. The skill set has to gel with each other, complement and supplement each other. The team should be based on not on friendship and emotion, but based on the requirement, based on and nothing is permanent. I always tell all my team, see, there is nothing permanent. Yeah, you won something. Tomorrow, the next hackathon, your team may have to be split up. That is the kind of thing I do. And I am very clear, there is no individual performance. See, maybe one fellow has done a great job. I don't say that we shouldn't promote him or we shouldn't put a pat on the back, but at the same time, the team performance is most important. Individual achievement, individual brilliance is always secondary. So this is the first step that we follow, and always have a nice catchy name. It helps. Believe me, it helps when you have catchy names. I had a team last year, a couple of years back, Coders of Blaviken. Coders of Blaviken. So many people were googling what is Blaviken, what is Blaviken. Even I didn't know, but it is from that Witcher. It's a very popular television program called Witcher. Of course, I watch a lot of television, but I've never watched Witcher before. But what I'm trying to say, have a good name. These names also kind of gel with the judges and with the participants. The second thing is identify the correct contest. There are thousands and thousands of contests happening every single day. It is not possible for you to participate in each and every contest, right? It is not possible. It will not be possible for everybody to be participating in each and every contest. You cannot. No, I'm sure all of you will have classes, will have labs, will have projects, mini projects, assignments, term projects, exams, internal exams, end semester exams. You cannot do hackathons and not write your exams. You're not going to graduate. So you have to be you have to always be identifying the correct contest. The contest that maps, that is suiting your skill set, that is not interfering with your major academic milestones, where you can form a team which is complementary and will be able to address it. There is some noise coming here, which will be able to address the right contest with your right team. And you cannot be going from contest to contest. You have to be very conservative, if you ask me. You cannot do everything. Focus on maybe 3 or 4 contests in a year. Look into the websites like hackerearth.com, hackerrank.com, daretocompete.com. These are websites and portals where you get all information about various kinds of competitions and contests. Hackerearth.com, hackerrank.com, daretocompete.com. These are the things. And then select the contest that you can do. So this is the second step. So first step, make the correct team. The team should be based not on emotion and friendship, but on complementary skill set, which will be able to address and win the hackathon. Have a nice team name, and the team performance is most important. Second step, identify the correct contest, the contest that matches your skill set. And you cannot participate in everything and anything. You have to focus on the contest that doesn't interfere with your academic schedule much. Maybe one periodical test or quiz you may miss, that your faculty will be able to help you. But you obviously, no university will allow or college will allow you to miss your end semester exam or your midterm exam. Nobody is going to allow. Nowhere in the country, nowhere in the world, right? So that is a kind of thing. The second step is there. Third step, as I mentioned, most hackathons give you a very, very vague problem statement. They do not give you full details. They will only give you a vague problem statement that says Smart City Hackathon. Now, only that is given. Only that is given, Smart City Hackathon. Now, what do you do? Right? You have to now develop that vague problem statement called Smart City Hackathon into an understandable problem statement. You have to decide, okay, now I have the concept is smart city. I will focus on smart education. I will focus on smart education. I will make a problem statement in smart education. I will make a problem statement in smart healthcare. I will make a problem statement in smart logistics or transportation. And that problem statement has to be crisp and understandable, precise, concise, understandable. Take an example. To provide a solution towards minimizing the frequent navigation checks using mobile during bike and car ride. Very clear. It's a smart transportation problem, right? From the smart city statement, you took a smart transportation and you made a very one line crisp problem statement to provide a solution towards minimizing the frequent navigation checks using mobile during bike and car ride. This is how your problem statement should be. It should be crisp. It should be very simple. Now, always do not write stories. Do not make it abstract. Make it very crisp. Then support this problem statement with facts and support your this thing with facts and figures. You can take citations from newspapers. In India, this many people have died due to accidents in bike. This many people have died in car accidents, right? If navigation checks were there, we would have reduced the number of accidents by 20%, 30%. And you cite that source. This was given in this Times of India paper, article by so and so. You can even cite papers, research papers. A research paper from US, a study claimed that the navigation checks would have reduced accidents by 40%. Cite that. So every time support your problem statement. They should feel that okay, when you are submitting this abstract or idea, your problem statement is crisp. else has muted me. Now I'm okay. Okay. Where did I stop? Which part did I stop? I got somebody muted me. I don't know who muted me. Hello? Yeah, I know. But which slide? Are you able to hear me? I don't know. Somebody again, I got muted. Yeah. 1 minute. I'm just sharing. Can you see my screen? Yeah. So did I stop? Did I complete this identify correct context when I got muted? Did I this abstract? Did I explain? No. This also I explained abstract. No. It's present B. Okay. Sure. Okay, sorry, I don't know how I got muted. Anyway, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Okay. So the third step is abstract and idea submission, where I told you that first you formed a good team. The team is formed. Then you identified the correct contest. Third step is abstract an idea submission, where you as I mentioned, the hackathon organizers will give you a basic statement like say smart city. Now you have to develop that smart city idea into a basic statement. So you choose a statement, say, to provide a solution towards minimizing the frequent navigation checks using mobile during bike and car ride. Now, this statement, it is very precise, concise, clear. It addresses the problem. It is in the domain of smart transportation, which is one of the aspects of smart city. Now, this problem statement you have to justify. What is the justification? What is the motivation? You support it with all kind of facts and figures. Times of India has reported 40% of accidents can be prevented by navigation check. This research in this journal, international journal, has mentioned that if you are able to have navigation check, you can reduce accidents by 25%. Like that's supported with facts and figures, statistics. There is even a website called Statista, which will give you a lot of numbers. And have your idea in a very infographic manner with pictures, images, and this thing, and have a simple block diagram, right? simple architecture or block diagram where all the things will be there. So this will you submit this idea. The organizers may have got say 1,000 or 5,000 ideas. I just think they will only select 100. The top 100 alone they will select. So you have your abstract and idea submission has to be very clear, understandable, and it should be very justifiable also. Only then you get selected. Now you have been told, okay, you are out of the 5,000 ideas that you got, you have been selected for the finals of the hackathon. That itself is a great achievement, because you have been selected from the top in the country. Thousands and thousands of ideas were there, but only the top 100 were being selected. Now you have time. Maybe the hackathon is after 2 months or 3 months. Do your homework, work on the hackathon, gather the components. That if you need any hardware components, procure it, buy it, keep it ready. Do your homework, look into code, look into ideas, and so on. Don't plan to do everything after going for the hackathon. So now you know, okay, after 2 months the hackathon is going to happen. We have to travel, we need these components. So we take all these components, we buy all these components. You do some homework, do some work, and on that day of the hackathon you should be you should ideally you should have completed everything. When you go there itself, the judges and the mentors will give you some suggestions, so that you just need to modify, but that doesn't happen all the time. But anyway, so you get everything ready, get all the hardware ready, get all the software, do some studying, do some sample coding, find out the platforms, find out the library functions, find out all these things, and find out all these things, and so on. Now you have come to the hackathon. You have reached the hackathon site. You have components. Now your time starts now. You may be having 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, and so on. Now, as I mentioned, you have to do your homework. Don't think that you can sit during the 24 hours without sleep and do the work. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So if the hackathon is say 72 hours or 48 hours, you budget only, you will do this much work for say 18 hours. Remaining 30 hours, you have to sleep, you have to eat. You will have a lot of suggestions coming from the judges and the mentors. So you should budget your time perfectly. You reach the hackathon site, you go for the program. It's not a good thing, to miss ceremonies and all. Be available for the ceremonies, be available for inauguration. And if your hackathon is 48 hours, you have already done some homework, you plan for say 20 hours of work, right? So take one challenge at a time, solve it. Make sure your product works under all conditions. Be sure about what aspects you should improve the project. And always have images, working architecture, diagrams, videos, demos ready for your product. And always be very honest. Some people have this habit of claiming so many things. Oh, my product is great, it's the best. Please understand, the judges and the mentors will be coming. They will ask you questions. They are very intelligent, top people. They will understand if you are bluffing. So be honest about it. If the mentor is telling, oh, you don't have this capability, you tell him, oh, sir, that is not there, but I will try and do it in the next 2 days during the hackathon. I will try to fabricate it. I will try to write the code for this. I have an idea about it. Like that, be honest. So you have reached the hackathon. Hackathon is 48 hours. You have slept well, you have eaten well, you have attended the inaugural ceremonies. Please don't miss those things. If there is some social ceremony, please don't miss it. There is a yoga, there is a visit. Don't miss those things. That is also part of the experience. Some students make it a point, when a college or a company or a big organization is running a hackathon and inaugural ceremony is there, they invite somebody, nobody is there. Everybody is either sleeping or working. What is the use? That is also part of the experience. So please be on time for all these things. You have 48 hours. You only plan to work for 20 hours. The remaining 28 hours, you plan for other things, including sleeping, eating, attending the events, give enough time so that you get the idea from the judges and so on. Now, please understand one very important thing. All hackathons, almost all hackathons, they will give you a slot for judging. Every 8 hours or every 6 hours, the judges will come to your seat and ask what you are doing, give you suggestions, give you ideas. They may be also called mentors or judges. Now, please note, you are being judged round the clock. Even though the schedule of the hackathon says judging at 6 p.m., judging at 4 p.m., judging at 3 p.m., judging at 10 p.m. Maybe you will see 2 times or 3 times. Visit by mentor, judging 1, judging 2, visit by mentor. Please understand, they are the times when the judges will actually come to your spot. But please understand, around the clock they are judging. They are watching you. They will walk down. And these informal judging are more important. That is more important. Please note that judging happens round the clock. Perhaps every 8 hours, both formally and informally. A judge or a mentor may just walk in and come and ask you some questions. You should be very proactive. You should know he's a judge when you should answer him, right? That is probably more important than when they are coming in a group and talking to you. That is the formal judging. Informal judging is also very important, right? So that is how you spend the time for the hackathon. And what do the judges look for? One, whether your solution is solving the problem, whether it is addressing the business need, whether it is addressing the societal need, the company's societal need. All those things are very important. At the same time, they may look for uniqueness, novelty, how complete your product is, how useful it is, whether it is solving the problem, whether you have a plan to convert this prototype that you have from an idea, you have built a digital prototype, whether you can convert this prototype to a product and a product to a startup. These are the things that they look. And they look for the team performance, how you are working as a team, how you are working together, how is it relevant to the hackathon, whether there is a business interest or a societal context, which I have already told you. Whether it is solving the company's, sometimes I have seen hackathons where some students have done excellent job, but some other team has won the prize. My team has not won the prize. Reason is very simple. It is a hackathon conducted by a company. The company's business interest is paramount. Even though I have built a better product, the other team has built an inferior product, but that inferior product is solving the problem of the company. There is a business interest. Obviously, they would have won. But if it was a societal context, it is for the help of for the benefit of the society, maybe I would have won. So these are the things. But the best thing is to move on. So 48 hours of the hackathon, you have done all this. Now what happens is that out of, I told you, 5,000 ideas came. 100 of them were called for the hackathon based on the idea submission. 100 of them came to the participation to the hackathon. In 48 hours, they have done a first level of judging and evaluation. And finally, only 10 teams have been shortlisted. This is how hackathons go. Now it is the finale, grand finale. And this judging is known as the power judging. Because already 5,000 ideas came. From the 5,000 ideas, 100 of them ideas were selected, and 100 teams have come for the hackathon. They have participated. You have done everything. You have mingled, you have mixed, you have met your friends, you have made friends, you have visited. All that is over. Only the top 10 or the top 5 will be going for the power judging. Power judging is a totally different ballgame. Earlier, you are looked for novelty, completeness, usefulness, ease of product, bringing the product to the market, presentation and clarity in the team, relevance to the hackathon team, business interest, society. Now it is a little different. Power judging is a little different. Power judging usually looks at it as a pitch. It is a pitch. It's not a technical presentation per se. Yes, You need to talk about your technical details in a very crisp fashion. But more focus is, it is a pitch to the investor, a pitch to the mentor, a pitch to the judge. That is very important. So here the focus is, even though you are talking about the introduction, what the product is, what is the motivation, maybe 2 minutes you talk, you justify. Then you speak another 2 minutes, the architecture and the technical details. Then you show the demo for another 2 minutes and explain. Then summary. But at the same time, you should always talk of what is your plan. It's not listed here. It's part of the Q&A, because this is what you will be asked. Have a slide on how you are going to convert this prototype into a product, and a product into a startup. That pitching part. So 2 minutes, usually don't have more than 7 minutes for presentation, maximum 7 minutes. 2 minutes very crisply in the pitch. You mention your introduction, motivation, justification. 2 minutes, the architecture and technical details. Don't go too much into detail. I'm using this machine learning algorithm. I'm using this IoT sensor. And you also say, why I have chosen this IoT sensor, why I have chosen this machine learning. That's all you need to explain. Show a demo, ideally have a video or a screen capture, explain that, give a summary. While you are giving the summary, also have a slide on how you are going to convert this into a product and a startup. And then questions. And believe me, 99.9% of the questions will be on that, how you are going to convert this prototype to a product, and product to a startup. I always tell my hackathon team, you have a plan of action. You show, I'm going to register the startup next year. I'm going to have a timeline. This is what I think. And with regard to the presentation, power judging is very short and crisp. All of you need not present. It's a stupid idea. One person needs to present. Too many people presenting, the flow is lost. One person can present and the others can complement. If there are questions, then what I do in my teams is that if there is a team of 4, I say only you will present. If there is a question related to IoT, you will answer. If there is a question related to machine learning, you will answer. I do rehearsals. You will not believe it. During all the hackathons, I take my team out. Somewhere out of the hall, I will take them. Sit with them outside, do rehearsals, select words, because every word counts. You have a very limited time. If they are saying 7 minutes, every second, every word counts. And my presentations, which I mentor, are not even 7 minutes. I finish all my pitches in 4 to 5 minutes. And I have 5 minutes for questions, and I'm able to clarify. These are things that really help me in all the hackathons. So this is what I've been telling you. One minute. The presenter must be, the only one person needs to present. He or she should be very clear in what he or she says. He should have clear technical know-how about the product, a very sharp presence of mind, good humor, make good jokes in good taste, have good communication skills. Always check all your equipment, hardware, software. And if there are questions that you do not know the answer, say very honestly, I do not know the answer. If one of the mentors or judges, one of the mentors or judges are saying, okay, your product is not at all good, it doesn't have a major feature, you say, don't argue, just say, sir, thank you for this idea. We will incorporate this idea that you have suggested in the next version. Take all the suggestions and listen to the questions. Do not be in a hurry. Say thanks to the organizers. Wish all the finalists and the others good luck. This is the steps that we have for the hackathon. As I mentioned, all of these are common sense. There is no rocket science in any of these presentations. So this brings me to the end of the this part. You want? Shall I continue with competitive programming, or can I answer questions now and then go to competitive programming? The choice is yours. Murthy sir. Sir, I can answer all the queries related to hackathons now, then move on to competitive programming, or should I continue? Please, nobody's. Murthy sir? Nobody is responding. Okay, continue. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is these are the quickly these are the things for the hackathon. One minute. These are the things for the hackathon, that is forming a good team, identifying the right contest, submitting a very crisp idea, building the solution during the hackathon, using those 48 hours, 36 hours, 72 hours, or 24 hours in a very proper fashion. Do not pack yourself too much. Have enough time to work on the suggestions given by the mentors. Be very clear. Once you are selected for the finale, the power judging, these are the things that you have to do. Now we will come to what is known as sports programming or competitive programming. So as I mentioned, competitive programming is now is a very interesting thing that is coming. Competitive programming is also known as sports programming, and I have had the honor and the pleasure to have coordinated this ICPC, International Collegiate Programming Contest, for over a decade. And ICPC is one of the major competitive programming events worldwide. Competitive programming means that you are programming and competing with others. With another one person, it can be 1 million people also, and these people can be anywhere in the world. You are learning competition. You are learning through competing and programming and competing with others. And that is why it's also known as sports programming. And in competitive programming, the most biggest contest is the ICPC, or the International Collegiate Programming Contest. ICPC is also known as, some people call it, the Olympics and World Championship of Collegiate Programming. ICPC is organized by the ICPC Foundation. Earlier, till 2017, IBM and ACM were involved with ICPC. It used to be called IBM, ACM, ICPC. But because of funding issues, IBM and ACM have moved out. Both have, because of the financial crunch, they have moved out of it. But still, it is very, very popular. On an average, 50,000 students participate in this competitive programming event called the ICPC, or International Collegiate Programming Contest. They are drawn from 3,000 plus universities in 110 countries. And if you see, all these participants of ICPC are so sought after. All of them find the best jobs in startups as software developers, engineers, data scientists, cyber specialists, tech leads, and many of the employees that, especially the major MNCs like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Amazon, Facebook, and LinkedIn, they look towards ICPC alumni for the same, right? So ICPC is started in 1970, and it's a 3-tier event. The first tier is within the college or the university, which happens from June to August of every year, where within the college there may be a ACM student chapter, there may be an ICPC club, there may be a programming club, there may be this kind of tech brains and stuff. They select the top teams by conducting an internal contest. That is the first step. After this, what happens is we go to the second step. That happens between September to December, where the top teams from every college will participate in what is known as a regional contest. A regional contest is typically having 50 to 100 teams. And regional contest happens in maybe 70 to 80 cities all over the country, the world. In India, Amrita, we have been running this regional contest, which is like the semi-finals of this event for over a decade. And ours is the biggest site of ICPC worldwide. So what happens is that first step within the college you or university, you have a contest. The top 2-3 teams are there. These 2-3 teams, in your internal contest, will go for the regional contest, which happens between September to December. The first one happens from June to August. And from this regional contest or semi-finals, 1 or 2 or 3 teams will go for a world championship or a world final. A world final means from the 70 cities, 1 or 2 teams will go and they physically go to the place. No, but last 2 years, unfortunately, because of pandemic, it has not happened. And it is a very, very competitive bidding process to be able to organize and host this world finals. If you see Stockholm, Banff, San Antonio, Shanghai, every country is actually bidding. They bid for this ICPC. In fact, our university is also planning to bid for the world finals at a later date. First time it will come to India. This is our hope and expectation. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a very competitive bidding process. And you can imagine 100 teams from all over the world coming. It's a major issue because we have to take care of the flights, the accommodation, the visa process, the entertainment. It's a major thing. So we have been doing this from 2000, since 2005, 4. We have been doing this. This is the biggest site of ICPC, the whole world. And Maheshwara Chaitanya is our regional contest director. I work under him as one of the site coordinators. This is the largest site of ICPC worldwide with 5,000 participants. Out of the 50,000 participants of ICPC, almost 10% are from our site. So we started in 2005 with 200 participants. Now we have get 5,000. What we do is we hosted the same contest in 3 campuses on a hybrid mode in Amrutapuri in Kerala, Coimbatore in Tamil Nadu, and Bangalore in thing. And one good thing is that Amrita is very much responsible for popularizing ICPC in India. Earlier, ICPC means a few hundred students from some IITs used to participate. The common man, we say Aam Aadmi, Aam Aadmi colleges are not participating, they are not benefiting. A few IITs were doing, but we have changed that system. Now everybody and anybody is participating because we popularized it, and now 5,000 plus participants are there. Of course, another 1 or 2 sites are there in India. I think in IIT Kharagpur and Kanpur, a regional contest, but ours is the biggest site. Now, how does ICPC works? 3 students per team. You can have a reserve, but the reserve will not come unless you are not, one of you 3 members is sick or unwell. The reserve will not come into the picture, but you can have a reserve. 1 computer per team, typically 6 to 15 problems, and 5 hours of the contest. Team solving the most problems in least time will get the will win, emerge victorious. So it is a battle of brains. You are testing your logic, your strategy, your endurance. You have to test your innovation, your creativity, your stamina, because those 5 hours you will only get some snacks. You will be not eating food. You will only get some snacks. You may have some tea and coffee. You may have, but 5 hours you are fully working, teamwork, and so on. And how do you prepare for this competitive programming? Well, as I mentioned, it's a battle of brains, a battle of logic, strategy, endurance, teamwork, hard innovation, creativity, stamina. All these are there. How can you get connected to this? Well, the methods are very simple. Participate, use platforms like CodeChef, HackerRank, Mooshak. Get used to these platforms. When you get used to these platforms, it will be easier for you to easy for you to get that and so on. Then participate in similar contests like Google Code Jam, IOI, Top Coder, Facebook Hacker Cup. These are similar competitions. And what is the the fundamental to ace the competitive programming, the competitive coding ICPC event is very strong knowledge of data structures and algorithms. Most of the questions are based on logic and data structures and algorithms, and strong foundation in machine learning, data science, combinatorics, number theory, graph theory, and crypto system. So this is the key to having acing the competitive program. Mainly, of course, data structures. The Bible is data structures and algorithms, but it also helps if you are strong in machine learning, data science, combinatorics, number theory, graph theory, crypto systems, cryptography. Of course, you should also be good in programming. You need to be very strong in some programming language, C, C++, Java, Python. That is also important. So this is the key towards acing the competitive programming contests like ICPC. That's all from my side. I close with this never stop learning. I'd be happy to answer any amount of questions. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, these are simple things, but these we have won many hacks with these guidelines. I'm sure. Wish you all the best. Wish you also be able to win as many hacks as possible. As far as ICPC, I have to be very honest with you. Even today, no Indian team has won the ICPC World Finals. Many teams have gone to the World Finals, but nobody has even come in the top 5 or top 7 or thing. I think one team came 12th or 13th a few years back. It's our dream that an Indian team wins the ICPC. We are yet to do that, and we are also working towards it. Thank you very much. Over to the organizers. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your good speech. I will ask the participants to type the questions in the sheet. Otherwise, I will check from this side also, sir, if any questions.
Yeah. Yeah. Please post your questions. Yeah, Harshit has asked a question. What are the key differences between coding which we learn from college and competitive coding? Very good question. See, you are learning coding in a very controlled environment. In your college, when you are studying, you are learning coding in a very controlled environment. See, to give you an example, you are doing, say, C. I'm going with a simple example of C. You start with basic C syntax. When you have a lab evaluation, you know what the syntax is. You will be asked questions based on the syntax. So, for example, if you are doing conditional statement, if, else if and all, or switch, you know the questions will be like, what are the, how do you find the roots of a quadratic equation? Write a program to find the roots of a quadratic equation, right? You know I mean, you have a fairly good idea. It's a very controlled environment. You know the questions. After some time, you go a little forward. You go a little forward. You will do a little more work. Suppose you come to the end of the thing, you may be using unions and structures in C programming or pointers. So it's a controlled logical flow in coding that we learn from the college. Even though you may not know the exact program that you will be writing in the evaluation, you know that you have a fairly good idea of what evaluation you will be. But in competitive coding, it's not like that. You don't know what the question is. They can ask anything and everything, and you will only get the question, at that point of time. And the question may be, yes, you have to apply data structures and algorithms, machine learning, data science, combinatorics, graph theory, theory of computation, but still you don't know the questions. And the second thing about competitive coding is that you are competing with others. You are in a lab, you are not competing with others. You are writing something, the faculty is evaluating you. You don't know what the other person is doing, right? But when you are doing competitive coding, you will know what the other person is doing. Online, you will be able to see that, okay, there are 7 programs. A has completed 5 programs. B has completed 2 programs. I have completed 3 programs. You know what is happening, what your competitors are doing, when they have submitted, how fast they have submitted, how they have got evaluated. All that is available. So that's a very competitive, that is the meaning of competitive coding. I hope I have answered your question. Yeah.
Sir, no more questions? Or just
Yeah,
I
one more
got one
question
more.
has come. One more question is there. What are the additional perks we get from Harshit Bobadi by hackathons, which will be helpful? See, this is an excellent question. I'll give you the answer with my first hackathon team. The team that came to me in 2017 middle and said that they wanted me to guide. Now, if you see where that team is, one person is in Stanford University. When he went for Stanford University, he went for admission, or his recommendation letter was so strong with hackathons and think that he got an entry into. And of course, he's a very good student. He's one of the toppers, not the topper, but he's one of the toppers. The one another student in that team is in Microsoft. He didn't even sit for Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant placement. He went directly. He didn't attend those companies. He only attended MNC placements. He's now in Microsoft. The other 2 are in startups, getting a very, very high paying jobs. So the companies, see, let me tell you, once you go into the company, they don't care whether you are 98% or 9.8 CGPA or 7.9 CGPA. They don't care. The CGPA and the percentage is needed to get inside. Yes. To when the company is doing what should I say, shortlisting, they definitely look at the CGPA and the percentage. You've got 80%, 85%, 75% with no area, 8.5 CGPA, 9.3 CGPA, all this matters. Once you go to the company, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your CGPA. Then you have to perform. And definitely when there are 7 pointers means there are students with 70% marks, 65%, 75% who probably don't get very good marks in their subjects, but they are very good in hackathon, and they are also very much preferred by these companies. The 2 students whom I told you from my first team, who are into startups getting very good salary, they are not 9 pointers, they are 7 pointers. But when they went for the interview, the company saw hackathon 1, hackathon 2, they were taken like hot cake. So these things help a lot in improving and spicing up your resume. Not only that, once you get into the company, you have a good chance to perform more than the others. There may be a 9 pointer who may not be doing any hackathons, but you may be, as a 7 pointer, you may be doing better than him. So this is the answer to your question. how many of the smart technologies which are made are actually implemented in the company? Unfortunately, it's a very small number because the ecosystem has yet to evolve. So, things are changing. See, there are not so many product development happening in India. The reason is that ecosystem is yet to develop. You need an ecosystem to thrive, for things to thrive, and smart products. So if you ask me, why can't there be an Apple iPhone in India or an Apple iPad? Why is it not developed in India? It's not because the talent is not there. Talent is there, in fact, better than anywhere in the world. But that ecosystem is not there. That is taking time. But things are definitely changing. This year alone, in 2020, this year means now we are in 2022. In 2021 alone, we have got 42 startups which have become uh, unicorns, $1 billion company valuation. India has now got 50,000 startups. And believe me, each one of these 50,000 are great. Without an idea, you cannot start a startup. I hope you agree with me, right? So all these 50,000 have got excellent ideas, but only 42 or 50 of them have become unicorns and very successful. So that is the answer to your question. You need a bit of luck. You need the ecosystem. You need luck also. Luck is also very important. That is also there. So that's a combination of factors. Kalyan Patnaik is asking, does experience is required to develop a prototype into the real scenario or to introduce product? See, it's very difficult to, when you are introducing a product in our market, it's very difficult because as I mentioned in the last question, the ecosystem is yet to develop. There may be excellent products, but they fail. Same example I'm telling you, 50,000 startups are there. Believe me, each of these 50,000 startups may have an excellent idea. But only 50 or 60 of them have become very successful. Maybe 100 of them have become successful. Remaining 49,900 and 900 have failed. Not failed, they are not so successful. So it's a combination, it's a combination of factors. Experience matters. Sometimes experience is also bad because you come with some experience, you come with some sort of, what should I say, you come with layers and you come with some ideas. You are not flexible to change those ideas. That becomes a problem. So sometimes experiences can be turning against you. It's quite possible that way also. So it's a combination. You need luck, you need experience, yes. You need the proper ecosystem, you need support, you need mentors. All these factors are needed for success, and nobody can predict. Nobody thought. Today people are talking of this Baiju. It's a no-brainer. It's a small idea, but nobody thought that it will be a $10 billion company. It is a large amount of it is luck also. There is great success, but luck is also there. Otherwise, how would it become today? How Byju's has become so big? I'm just typing my idea coordinates. My email address I have typed. I also this is my name on Facebook. Prashant R Nair, Prashant space R space NAIR. With this, you can search for you can follow my Facebook page, and there is a new YouTube channel that I have made with all my lectures also. You can look into that also. So these are my coordinates. Would like to thank Professor GRS Murthy for this opportunity. It's been a good experience talking to you. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. We will make a end of it.